Hey there my lovelies, and welcome to my BookTube channel, the Sassy Library Fox. My name is V, and today I'm finally going for my December wrap-up video. I actually wanted to record my video of the best books I read in 2023 before this one, but yeah, I started with my new job at my new company and things have been a little bit hectic. I love it there, the co-workers are nice, so that's some good news. The bad news is I have less time to record videos, so yeah, I will have to divide my time once again, and this is the reason why the wrap-up video comes before the best books of 2023. Anyway, so much for that. I think we can say that December 2023 was actually my best reading month ever, which is kind of interesting because the old year ended with a bang. I had an average rating of 4.63 paws, and I think I'm not even exaggerating when I say that I think I've never had such a high rating ever before, not ever since I started to write them down. So that says a lot about all the books I read in December and about my enjoyment. I think you can say it's a good reading month when the worst book, or when the book you rated with the worst rating is a 4 paws read. All the others were higher, so yeah. I think we'll just jump into this. I've got my coffee at the ready. It's once again going to be a relaxed video, and I have my sheets as always. So let's just do this and jump into the actual wrap-up video. Okay, so the first book I read in December, which I rated 4.5 paws, is She Drives Me Crazy by Quindlen. I hope I pronounced it right. I'm not also sure. Quindlen. Yeah, I think that's the name. And I rated it 4.5 paws because this book was awesome. I've been reading a lot of sapphic romances lately and over the last 2 years, but this one was really the best one so far because everything was just really done so well. I mean, we have the two main characters, and it's kind of a sports romance because Scotty is a basketball player and Irene is a cheerleader, and those two are enemies ever since an incident about, I think, 2 years ago or so, and they can't stand each other, but after a game they get into a fender bender and their mothers they kind of nudge them into the direction of carpooling together. So those two enemies end up carpooling together and get to know each other, and they slowly but steadily fall in love. And this book was really done so well. Usually I always have a problem with standalones when they are LGBTQIA+ books, because there's always, the ending isn't well rounded. There comes the third act breakup and then the ending is kind of rushed. But none of this happened with this book. We really got such a nice character development, and it was really, there was a family and the parents were actually in the picture. They cared about their children, they knew what they were up to. That was really refreshing for a young adult romance because that almost never happens. And aside of that, the romance was kind of from enemies to lovers to friends, and then a very slow burn because those two, they started slowly and it kind of creeps up on them, which I also loved. And the ending, I absolutely loved and adored the ending, because aside of the family that's always there and of the really nice and slow burn, you also have a well-rounded and really nice and realistic ending, and I just love that. I really love that those two, Irene and Scotty, work through their issues. They talk, they have conversations, and they talk things through. So that was amazing. I loved She Drives Me Crazy, and I think you can tell by how much I gushed about it already. So I will end it here and say I rated it 4.5 paws, and let's just head to the next book. And the second book I read in December was a 4 paws read, and it was Anatomy, a Love Story by Dana Schwartz. And I already spoke about this when I did my to be read video, and I already spoke about what the book is about, but I will just summarize it here. It's basically about a girl named Hazel Sinnett, and she's actually a lady in English society, and she wants to become a surgeon. So she kind of dresses up and goes to the lectures under the synonym of, I think it was George Hazelton or something like this. And she attends those lessons and is actually a good student, but then she's found out, and through various reasons she kind of befriends a resurrection man named Jack Curra, and he provides the bodies for her so that she can study. Okay, so much for the overall plot. Of course, there's a lot more going on than that. And I personally really enjoyed this book. I mean, it plays in Edinburgh at around, I think, 1817. So Hazel wanting to be a surgeon is already very feministic for the time. But I loved those notes in the book, and it was also a little bit gory, so it's definitely not for the faint-hearted. Dana Schwartz really described how anatomy lessons are held or were held back then. So she didn't hold back on the gory details, as you might say. Be aware of that if you want to read the book. And of course there's also some sort of mystery, because Jack and Hazel discover that poor people are going missing and come back with missing limbs or body parts once again. So someone is stealing them off the streets, and yeah, they want to figure out that mystery. And it was so well done. It was such a nice mixture of a lot of you would say of a lot of different genres, but it was done well. It was done really well, and I really enjoyed it. The ending was, the ending threw me. Apparently there is a second book out there, and I'm so going to read it because I need it. After the ending, I need to know how it will go on. I can't accept that ending. I need more. Okay, so much for the second book I read in December. I'm gonna take a sip before I continue. Coffee. I need coffee. Okay, so the third book I finished in December was Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. And it's already the second book in the duology. I love this duology. I loved it so much. I gave it 5 paws, and quite honestly it would have gotten a million paws from me if I would have them in my rating, which I don't. But anyway, it deserves all the paws because this book was awesome. It was as amazing as the first one. Victoria Schwab really managed to keep the atmosphere and to keep it suspenseful and interesting. And it's kind of, I don't know, if you haven't read the first book, you might not want to listen to me doing this wrap up now, because I might spoil you a little bit for the second one and for the first one. So if you haven't read the series yet, you should definitely skip that part. Only if you decide you don't want to read it, then you can probably watch it. I don't know, it's your decision, so I just said it. But yeah, to come to the slightly spoilery parts, I loved that we got both Kate's and August's point of views in that one. We get to know what happened after the first book, after the ending of the Savage song. We realize that Sloan isn't dead and that he took over the other part of the city and that monsters roam freely there and that there are barely any humans left. And we also learned that Kate went to Prosperity and kind of works as a monster hunter there. And August August has become the leader in his part of the city, and he is trying to maintain a stable and good environment for human beings. He is trying to keep them safe from demons. And yeah, this book, I think for the first book kind of focused on Kate wanting to become a monster and on August on wanting to become a human. We have some sort of different dynamic in this book because August is trying to be a monster but fails because he still wants to be human. And Kate is becoming a monster but wants to stay human. So this was really such an interesting dynamic to the first book, and Kate and August, I just loved them both, and the suspense and the world building with the different kind of demons and monsters. It's an amazing series. I can totally recommend it. It's my favorite Schwab series so far, and that says a lot because I read so many of Schwab's books by now, but I loved that one. I loved it so much. And I can highly recommend reading that one. And of course I rated it 5 paws because what else should I have rated it? And the fourth and the last book I read in December is Idle Moves by Katie Salvo, and it's actually the second book of a series, and I loved it so much. I gave it 5 paws, and I actually got the first and the second book as an arc from the publisher. And when I started to read the first book, I had a kind of rocky start because the first couple of chapters, the protagonists Taeyun and Jason aren't they aren't the nicest people, or kind of seem to be closed off from their surroundings. But quite honestly, after the first couple of chapters, when those two meet, things take off and it gets really good, and I just loved it. It's an MM romance and a K-drama and K-pop romance at that. Jason is an actor and Taeyun is an idol, and those two get to know each other by working together. And yeah, Jason is kind of the bad boy who lives in Hollywood and turned his back to South Korea a long time ago because, he doesn't get along with his parents and he's gay. And we also have Taeyun, who is an idol but is also secretly gay, and then those two meet through work and fall in love. And at first it's kind of not exactly enemies to lovers. They admired each other from afar, but they don't get along all that well in their first meeting. So there is some tension there. But then they get to know each other and things get really interesting and nice. And in the second book, and this might be a spoiler if you haven't read the first one, so be aware of that. In the second book, it's basically about them dealing with their new circumstances. At the ending of the first book, Taeyun and Jason both were kind of forced into coming out. People made a video of them, so everyone knows they are together now and that Taeyun is gay. And he's kind of working on building his career in America, and he's living with Jason. And I just loved this book so much because from the first book, when both of them were kind of grumpy or closed off and didn't want to get anyone get close to them. They changed so much in this one, and they love each other so fiercely and deeply, and there are so many challenges and problems thrown in their way, but they overcome them all because they know what they want. They want to be with each other, and they want to have a solo career and be successful. And all the obstacles that are thrown their way, all the things they have to overcome, it was quite a lot, but it was so nice to see their character growth. They grow into being a couple, but also into being independent and going for what they want. And this was really so beautifully done and written. Of course, there are a couple of steamy scenes, but they just add to the overall feeling of what you can achieve when you're true to yourself and when you love yourself, and which kind of challenges you would have to tackle if you're an out and proud idol in Korea. Because, well, I think there would be a lot of challenges if you would be out and proud there. And yeah, it was really so well written. I loved it so much, and quite honestly, there were parts I was at the edge of my seat because it got so suspenseful as well. It was really like watching a K-drama play out on screen, and it was amazing. I honestly, the second book ended quite open, so I'm hoping that there is going to be a third book, and I want to read that one so badly. You have no idea. If I can get my greedy fingers and hands on an early copy, I will request it as fast as possible. If there is a third book, I still don't know yet, but if there is a third book, I'm so going to read the hell out of it. Okay, of course, I gave this 5 paws as well, and that, I think that video here explains my super high rating of paws in December. So it was a really great month. I read 4 books and all of them were amazing. So I hope that January will be as good as December was, at least reading wise. And well, I think I already said it all. I would love to hear what you read in December and which kind of books made it into your favorites. Did you read some of the books I spoke about? Did you like them, or were there things you didn't enjoy? Just make sure to let me know and write it down in the comments below. I love to get comments and to answer to them, so don't be shy. And well, I guess we're already at the ending of my video, and there's nothing left to say except of take care, stay healthy and safe, and see you around the next time. Bye! I will just summarize it quickly here. It's basically, Schatzi, Schatzi, deine Geräusche da hinten machen mich fertig. Bitte nicht Geräusche machen. Was tust du? Oh Gott. My husband, he's always around. Let's move on.